Hey guys, it is Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. I have a great song for you today, some Hagar era Van Halen with 5150. So this is a great track, got a lot of really cool riffs in it, and of course a killer guitar solo. So we've got a lot to cover today. Before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell so you know when I release a new video. And check out my Guitar Academy. Right now I'm offering a free 7-day trial, so you have nothing to lose. Just, the link will be in the description. Guitar Academy is the GL365 Academy, has all my guitar courses covering technique, ear training, improvisation, guitar tone, a complete beginner course, everything. So please go check it out. You get a free 7-day trial. All right, so let's talk about the tuning first. We are in drop C sharp tuning or drop D flat tuning, however your tuner reads, displays notes. So what that basically means is the whole guitar is down a half step, like Van Halen does a lot. So every string is tuned down a half step first, and then you put it in what you might refer to as drop D tuning, which means you take the low E string. At this point, it'd be an E flat, and lower it another whole step to a D flat. So, if you have a tuner that reads notes as sharps, the low E string will be now a C sharp. And then the next string, the fifth string, would be a G sharp. And then we have a C sharp, then an F sharp, an A sharp, and a D sharp. So, so remember that low C sharp we have there. If it reads as flats, we'll have a D flat, an A flat, D flat, G flat, B flat, and E flat. All right, so that gives us a fun tuning to play in. All right, now we have this intro riff that sounds like this. All right, so that's going to start here with off this D triad up here, the 7th fret there on the D string. We're going to keep going back to that. And by the way, I'm just going to call them E through A, E, A, D, G, B, E strings. I'm not going to worry about what they're actually tuned to, just so it makes it easy on us. So we have the D string here, 7th fret on the G, and 7th fret on the B string. So this rhythm, when you first play it, you play the 7th fret on the G and the B together, and then you keep going back to the 7th fret muted on the D string. So we have this. Play that first, and then you go basically pick up the note on the go from the 7th fret to the 5th fret there on the B. So we have this. So that's just that. This note on the G string just stays there. So I went. All right, so then you hit a couple more times on the D string after that. And then we go 7, 5, 7. So we have this. So that's what's really is going on there. It's got a melody moving on the between two notes on the B string. Then we move back here to the 6th fret on the D string, and then you're gonna hold a E major chord, and that is gonna be the 5th fret there on the B, 4th fret on the G, still holding that 6th fret there on the D, and then the 7th fret on the A string. Now let the index finger be doing a bar. Okay, why? Because when we after we do this little arpeggio across the strings from the B string to the G to the A to D to the A, we now are gonna lift up these other fingers and just have the bar, the fourth fret on the D and the G together. So we play that note on the A string there, the 7th fret, to those two, the 4s, the D double stops, and then hit it a couple times more, and then add that 6th fret on the D again while still playing the 4th fret there on the G. So we have this. So, sorry. So that rhythm is a little bit different than he plays it a little bit the next time through. It's got another hit in there. So. And then we pick back across these, you go back to the A string, 7th fret, and then you start picking across this arpeggio again. Except here, instead of going all the way down to that note there, here, we go, and when you get to the A string, you're actually going to shift this whole form down, so that note is actually at the 5th fret. So it's like, instead of this, we have this. So you got to do that shift. So all together so far we have. Now here we kind of do the same thing, except when we pick across, it's basically the same. It's basically the same thing, except when we pick this B string, we're going to get the high E string in there with it. So pick across. So across that D major chord. And here's where the rhythm's a little bit different. It goes, instead of doing this. So instead of doing 2 hits there, you just. All right, so we basically have this. Sorry. Now you pick back across, just right there, and then we have this little ending. So really, when he plays it, he kind of just plays. He doesn't really do it as a chord. Like he likes to just play each note individually, so he can like kind of add vibrato to it. So you can do it like that, which is pulling off 3 to 2 on the B. Then over to 2 on the G, and 2 on the D. And you can hit the open A when you hit that. So and then we have this. So that is just the 4th fret there on the D string, 2nd fret on the G, and 3rd fret on the B. Hit that chord twice. It's a D major chord, first inversion. And then an A major chord, E major, but I'm not hitting the low E string. I'm just kind of picking from the 5th string, and then back to the A. So this. Then take it to a D major chord, and then it goes back to this little intro riff. So kind of like, so from the beginning, the rhythm is slightly different. So we have this. So you just gotta know that. So it's just basically a slight variation on what we did before. You just gotta know that melody. So otherwise, it's played the same way. You keep going back to the muted 7th fret there on the D string. And this is going to be play the same way the next time around too. Now the difference there is the same kind of thing but it's that more simplified rhythm instead of going. It just does it like we did down here. Sorry, and then. And then back, same inning. Same thing. So after 3 times, this third ending, instead of doing this, it does this. It goes up here. It really takes us to the chorus riff, which is, we're still in the intro. Now this up here, there's an E in there. And you can play it here or the open E. And it's a little bit easier to play as the open E. However, it doesn't sound as good to play the open E. I believe he's playing the fretted note up here. So sometimes you might hear him play these first 2 notes by themselves. And then he goes. So in any case, it's up here at the 15th fret there on the B and the 14th on the G. And if you want to go ahead and add that E on the D string, you can for the first time through. And then it goes to the A major chord, which is just the 14th fret across the D, G, and the B. And then an E major chord for the 12th fret there on the B, 13th on the G, and 14th still on the D string. And then back to that A, and then back to the D. So we have this. All right, so that basically takes us to a new riff. Which is going to be the chorus riff in a little bit. So, but we're still in the intro here, so it looks like this. All right, so and that takes us to the verse. So basically the chorus riff, it's kind of an odd timing that they're doing. So you're gonna play a D major chord with an A in the bass. And then you keep going back and hitting the A, open A string there with it. And then you do a down, up, down on that again, and move it up 2 frets. While you're still up to this E major triad above it, while you're still doing that A pedal. So this. And then from there, you're gonna do a little bit bigger version of this E major chord. You're gonna now do a bar with your at the 4th fret across the G to the high E. Add the 5th fret there on the B. So you're still playing those same notes, but you're gonna add this 6th fret there on the D. And the same little down, up, down. And then move that down 2 frets. And you still have that open A going on with it. All right, so it's kind of odd timing because it's always kind of anticipating the beat. And then we have this. So this is a little bit different arpeggio. We're gonna play, it's a G major arpeggio in 2nd inversion. So we're gonna play muted the 3rd fret on the B, 4th fret on the G, and then 5th fret on the D and the A. And then that same, so just do the single, and then that same mini. Back. Now, for this second time through, the ending is going to be this. So kind of like we did in the intro. And then leading into the verse, we're gonna have this. So that's kind of moving up here to this D major chord here. So that's the 10th fret there on the B, 11th on the G, 12th on the D. So go up there a couple times like this, sliding away from to the A a couple of times. All right, and then we finally get to the verse, which is a really cool riff, really using this drop C sharp tuning now. It sounds like this. All right, and then that goes to the pre-chorus from there. So we're going to start kind of sliding into the 7th fret there on the low E string. Then play the 5th fret on the A, then back to that 7th fret, and then 3rd fret on the A. So that's a little bit of a lead in. And now it's kind of like, it kind of sounds better, just kind of play the single 5th fret there on the A string. Kind of and rotating against, you can hit them both at the same time first. And then, it's kind of just a little slow groove. And then, so that is a, take the 5th fret there on the A string, pull off the 3, and pull off to the open A. Then you're gonna slightly bend, do a half step bend at the 4th fret there on the low E string. Then you hit the open D string. So it is. So after that D, you hit the open A. And then pull off 5 to 3 again on the A. And then we have this. And that's the 5th fret there on the D along with the open G. They're unison notes. You hit that a couple times with this. And then we have this, which is going to be the open A string. 5th fret there on the A with some vibrato, open A again, and the 3rd fret with some vibrato. So it is. Repeat. So of course this, when you start over, that replaces the, so this. So the 3rd time, we had this ending, instead of doing this, we had this. Which is just 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, slide up to 5 on the A. All right, now, I kind of treat this pre-chorus as it's really kind of 2 separate riffs. So I'm kind of on the first one, pre-chorus, like part 1, and then pre-chorus part 2. So pre-chorus part 1 sounds like this. All right, so cool little arpeggiated riff. Not the easiest thing in the world to play. We're up here at the 7th fret here. So we're going to pick from, you're going to pick across the 7th fret of the low E, A, and the D. So we pick across the low E, A, D, and then back to that A string. Then we have this 9, then to that 7 on the 9/7 on the D, and then 6 on the G, back to the 7 on the D string, and then the 7th fret there on the G. So we have this. So as soon as we get to that note on the 7th fret on the G, we're going to pick a cross again. So we have this, the 7th on the G to the 7 on the D and the A, then back to the 7 on the D. So we have this. And then we pick the same thing. Now we're at the 6th fret as the top note on the G. And then kind of pick a cross again. So with this. And then we're gonna, now this is a 7th fret bar across the D, G, and the B, along with the 10th fret here on the A string. So then back. All right, so it basically does that twice. And then we get to what I call pre-chorus part 2. All right, so that is going to be based off starting here at the 2nd fret here. So that's the, hit that 2nd fret on the low E twice, and then the 2nd fret on the A, and then the D, and you can let them ring. And then 5th fret on the D. So same rhythm now. We're going to move up to the 5th fret, and we're going to have this. So that's the 5th fret twice on the low E, and then once on the A, once on the D, then the 9th fret there on the D. And then we're gonna change it up a little bit, just picking each string once. So we're gonna pick the low E string once there, still barring the 5th fret, then the A, and then the 7th fret on the D. So we have this. So all together. All right, now back to the original rhythm here at the 3rd fret. Kind of a big stretch here. So 3rd fret twice on the low E, once on the A, once on the D, and then stretch up to the 7th fret there on the D. Same thing again, but now at the 7th fret. And then move up here to the 10th fret there on the low E to the A. With this. Then we have to end it, which is just this 12th fret there on the A, then the D, then the open high E, 10th fret on the B string, and then the 11th fret there on the G, and the 12th on the D together. So all together. Then we had that same riff that happens in the chorus that kind of does the turnaround in the chorus, but it's slightly altered. It starts on the A here. So it's a little bit shorter just this time. For the rest of the times do it when they're kind of repeating it in the chorus. So just leaving the pre-chorus, you're gonna, instead of starting with the D, it just starts from the A though. And then the E, back to the A, and the D. And then back to the same chorus riff we did before. So then it goes to the same chorus, through the same verse, same pre-chorus section, and then the same chorus again. And then we finally get to the solo. Now the solo rhythm, I'll take a look at first before the actual solo. The solo rhythm is just basically off of this. that's kind of a really kind of a simple rhythm going on. There's a little different ending I'll show you in a second. But so it just starts with the 9th fret double stops on the D and the G together. You're kind of rotating back and forth between the 9th fret here on the low E with your thumb. And then you basically, the chord change is just goes to the open A string. Again, so those same double stops. And at the end, we go slide it down to the 7th fret, those 2 double stops, and then to start over, slide into the 9th fret there on the G, or on the D string, and the 11th fret on the G, and then back. And at the end of the solo, we do this. And so it's just taking these double stops down with the A pedal going. All right, so just the 9th fret double stops, and then down to the 7th. So just show you the chords real quick. And then the 7th fret on the D, and this is the very end of the solo here. 6th fret on the G, then move that down 2 frets, and then 2 more frets. So we have this. So that's that very melodic ending to the solo you hear. All right, so now let's take a look at the solo itself. I'm going to play through it real quick for you. Coming in a little bit earlier, there's some little fills before we get to the actual solo section. So I'm going to start with those fills and then move into the solo. All right, sounds like this. All right, so it's got some typical kind of classic Van Halen licks in it. And some of them are just kind of go for broke licks, of course. They're kind of difficult to get exactly note for note, but you can kind of get the patterns down of what he's doing and really emulate what he's doing, because he would never do it exactly the same way twice. It's just the nature of those types of licks. So let's start with this opening little melody line you hear right before the solo starts. So that's going to be a slide into the 11th fret there on the D, and then 9th on the G, 11, big bend, so it's a step and a half bend, and then kind of the same, that's sliding into the 18th fret on the G, over to 17 on the B, and then step and a half bend at the 19th fret. And then we have this kind of just kind of depress the bar real quick. And just let it come up. And then we get to the actual solo, and this first phrase will sound like this. All right, so that's going to start here. The 9th fret there in the G, a little heavy vibrato on it, down to 7. So we have this a couple times. And then we have a quick bend with a pinch harmonic on it, the 7th fret there. Big bend. at the 7th fret on the B, over to the 7th fret on the D. And then 7-5 on the A with a lot of vibrato on the 7th. So we have this. And then slide into the 9th fret there on the D, and then play the 7 on the D. And then back to that 9-7 on the G. And then we do a bend, whole step bend there at the 10th fret there on the B. So it's just kind of continually picking it, kind of staccato picking it, and releasing the bend, and then raise it back up at the end. All right, now here comes a common Eddie Van Halen lick, this kind of legato lick that is actually easier than it sounds just because of the way he's fingering it. So it sounds like this. So what's going on there, and he does this in quite a few of his solos, it's this, he's taking advantage of an open E string there to make the lick easier. So the first time you hear it, you've heard the 7th fret on the high E string. Then what you're going to do is play the 7th fret there on the B, hammer 10, pull off to 7, pull off to the open B, and then we go over to the 10th fret on the G string, and here's the key to the lick right here. You'll see a lot of players when they're trying to copy Eddie Van Halen solos, they'll do it like this. And they'll play that E note right there on the G string, which makes it almost impossible to get up to the speed that he's doing it. Because how he's actually playing it is he's playing the open E, not this. So he has this. So we have this. Now from here, we change the lick, simplified a little bit. It just plays straight 10, pull off to 7, pull off to the open, over to that 10 on the G, and then the high E. So instead of doing, we have this. So he kind of repeats that a few times. Now, if you slightly palm mute those, it sounds almost like it's a fretted note. So we have this. All right, so then after he does the lick a few times, and then we have kind of a bend and release at the 9th fret there, pull off to 7, over to 9 on the D string, and then slide into the 7th there on the G. So with, and then we're going to end it. So that's a quick 9 on the D and A muted. And then a pinch harmonic whole step bend at the 7th fret on the D string. And then play 7 without the bend or the harmonic. And then 9-7 on the A. So we have this. Sorry. Kind of the same type of thing goes on in like the jump solo and stuff like that. So all right, now here he goes into the tapping, and he sets up the tapping, sliding into the 9th fret. So even though he has his finger available already, because he doesn't hold his pick with his index finger really that much, he still has to move over here. So while he's setting up for that and moving his hand over, he's sliding into the 9th fret. So let me play the part for you first. All All right, so this is kind of some typical Eddie tapping licks, but how he's setting up for it is he slides into the 9th fret on the A, hammer on with your index finger on the 7th fret on the G, then hammer on the 9th fret of the G. Then you're set up, you're ready to tap. So if you're holding your pick like a, kind of a more traditional pick style, it gives you time to, like, I put the pick right here, so it gives you time to shuffle a pick away, just those first 3 notes. And then we have this. So the tapping is going to be tapping the 11th, hammer, pull off the 7, hammer on 9. Same thing on the G. And then move up to the 12th fret there on the tap on the B string, and then pull off the 7 and hammer on 10. And then tap 12, pulled off to 7, and hammer on to 10. So now here's where we're kind of just doing some typical Eddie tapping licks. And at first when he's tapping, he's playing 3 notes in the left hand. So we have this 7, 9, 10. So you can do a couple of taps, pulling off the 10, then pull off 10, 9, hammer back on, and then pull off all the way down to 7. And then very rarely do you hear Eddie tap for very long without sliding up the string. So he slides up the string a couple of times. After the first slide, you could just have the tapping just be between 12, 10, and 7. So obviously if you're attempting this, you probably already know how to tap and you know your tapping patterns. So you can just do kind of typical Eddie tapping patterns there without me kind of working out it, for you, because like I said, he's kind of going random anyway. So we have this. And then take it across, you're going to slide up again. And then take it across to the B string, tapping the same frets. And sliding up the B. And then kind of over to the 9th fret on the G. Kind of trill between the 7 and the 9. And then kind of a bend the 9, pull off, and then just kind of resolve it on the 9. And then we do the bend again at the 9. And that is, after that bend, you're just going to be tapping 12, pull off, keep the bend, 14. So you're just kind of tapping between 12 and 14 and keep pulling off to that bent 9th fret. And then he adds a slide up the G string. And here's where he's got some whammy bar action. Starts it. So he just kind of just playing, going between doing hammers and pulls between 9 and 7 on the G there, with some kind of whammy bar dips there. And then he starts rotating them between these double stops up top, this 4th fret on the high E and the B. And then kind of resolve that out. So this. And then we go from there into this. So that starts with a unison bend, 10th fret on the high E string, 7th fret on the high E, 10th fret on the B. So bend those together. And then start tremolo picking, 7th fret, 9, 10, 12, and then you can let off the tremolo picking, and then 10, 9, 10, 9, 7. So and then we go back to some more kind of typical Eddie licks. So into the bend at the 10th fret there on the B. So a bend at the 10th fret there, and then we have this lick, 7th fret on the high E, pull off 10-7 on the B, over to 10 on the, kind of a blues like 10 on the G string. So do that a few times. And then resolve it with this. So that's a bend of the 9, pull off, release, pull off to 7, over to 9 on the D, and then hammer back 7, 9. All right, and then we have this section which starts with a kind of a very distinct kind of picking pattern, and then it goes into a kind of almost unintelligible chaos. So it sounds like this. So that little part in the middle is I'm kind of taking a little bit, it sounds like he's pulling off the open strings, so I'm kind of doing something like he does a little bit in Eruption there, and just kind of guessing what's going on, because it's like I said, it's very, even if you slow it way down, it's not very clear on the recording what's going on. My best guess is that he's pulling off from the, to the open strings, but we'll get there in a second. So we have this before. So this is kind of having a little rhythm on the muted 9th fret of the D string, and to the double stops to the 7 on the G and the B, and then the same thing except the double stops are at the 9th fret, then back to the 7. So now here's what I'm talking about. The best thing you probably work on, what he does doesn't sound that clear either. So it's just kind of, you can really work on pulling off from the 7th on the B to the open B, and then maybe pull off from the 9th fret on the G to the open G, and then the 7th on the G to the open G. So that's kind of, you can actually, that's not exactly what's going on the album. Like I said, it's not possible, but I think it's a lick kind of like that. But it's kind of really hard to pick up. So after you can decide whether you want to, you got to now pick up at the very end, which is just kind of time that ending lick, which you can pick up, which is hammering 7, 9 on the D, and then back to 7, and then play 8, 7, 5 on the A. All right, and then we're going to end the solo like this. All right, so that is just kind of tremolo picking from on the D string here. 9, 11, 12, 14, 16. And then we're up to the 17th fret there on the high E, and then you're going to do a couple unison bends, playing that 17th fret while bending up the 20th fret on the B string. So the first time you play it from there, you play 17, 19, and then whole step bend. Then release, then 19, 17, and then bend 19 again, but now it's just a half step. Back down, and then again. And I think it ends kind of with a kind of hammer pull between 17 and 19. So we have this. And then from there, we just go back into the same intro. Except it does the riff. In the intro, we did it, 2 times with that low ending. And then the third time, we had the high ending. So here, it just does the low ending once, and then the high ending once, and then it jumps right to the chorus. And the chorus just kind of continues with this. That high ending just continues, and they just kind of repeat it just like that until it fades out. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this in-depth breakdown of 5150. It was requested a lot recently, so I decided to jump on it for you guys. Done a lot of Van Halen lately. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.